Unit 5, lesson factor by grouping. And your learning goal is I can factor a polynomial by grouping. So, vocabulary term here, if we are factoring by grouping, it's just another method of factoring. Okay, and so this is a method that works when you are given a 4-term polynomial. That just means you have a polynomial with 4 things being added together. And there's no common factor amongst those 4 things. So before we were looking for a GCF of all the terms that we could pull out. Yeah. You have something to write with? Okay. Maybe, no? Yeah. And so this is a method also called factoring in pairs. Okay, it doesn't always work so that you can factor, but it's just a method that you should try. It can work if you rearrange terms, and so it's just one of the tools of factoring that I'm going to show you today. So these are a couple examples that are done, and we're going to start with these examples where steps 1 and 2 are already done, and you don't have the steps yet in front of you, so I'm going to show you those real quick, although they don't make a ton of sense because we're looking at examples where 1 and 2 are done. So we're jumping right to step 3, where we're factoring out a common binomial. So if you look at the one on the left, we have 3x times x plus 2 plus 4 times x plus 2. So this is actually a binomial because there's 2 terms being added together. Each term is really big, okay? 3x times x plus 2 is 1 term because it's factored, it's being multiplied together. And 4 times the quantity of x plus 2 is 1 term. But what they have in common is the binomial x plus 2. So we've seen how we can factor out a number, how we can factor out a variable, but we can also factor out a binomial. And that's what we're doing here. We're factoring out x plus 2. So when I factor out this x plus 2, what's left is what's here in the second set of parentheses, 3x plus 4, because the 3x was a factor here that was left behind after I divided x plus 2 out, and the 4 is the factor that was left behind after I divided x plus 2 out. So this here is a factored polynomial, where up here, this was not a factored polynomial because of this plus right here. It wasn't factored. Factored means it's all multiplication. So even though in the parentheses there's addition, the parentheses are next to each other. So those 2 items are being multiplied with each other. This is like if we wanted to check our work, you can kind of like you could do FOIL, the FOIL method, where you multiply the 4 different combinations, and you should come back to, well, no, let me rephrase that. You can use the FOIL method to rewrite this as a 4-term polynomial, but right now it's not written that way. You would use the distributive property still just to put this back to the way it was before on the line above. This example on the right, 2x times x plus 3, that's the first term, minus, and then in parentheses we have x plus 3, so that's the second term. What they have in common is x plus 3. So we are dividing x plus 3 from the first term, which leaves us with 2x, which is why there's a 2x right here. And we're dividing x plus 3 from the second term, which leaves us with just, it's the only factor left. So you can always multiply something by 1 in math and not change its value. So basically there's a 1 left, and that's why it shows minus 1, because of this minus, and then the 1 is representing the fact that we divided everything out. So we're going to do one of these together, and then I'm going to have you do one of these. I'm actually going to do example 3 with you. All right. So example 3. We're going to factor. We're factoring by grouping. I'm just going to do example 3 with you. Okay, so if you look at the polynomial that's given, the first term is 2x times x plus 6. Okay, so this is one term. The second term is x plus 6. Okay, so it's all the stuff multiplied together plus this other stuff that's in parentheses. And we have to still figure out what is the GCF of those two terms. Our GCF is going to be a binomial. Our binomials are polynomials with two terms. So our GCF here is the quantity of x plus 6. So just like we were factoring on Monday and Tuesday, once you figure out what the GCF is, then you're going to divide the GCF out from each term. So basically, under the first term, I'm going to write x plus 6. And under the second term, I'm going to write x plus 6. I could put the parentheses around there too. They're not really necessary, but it does help you recognize that they are common factors that we can divide out. So the factor of x plus 6 and the factor of x plus 6 are common, so they divide out. So you can use like line tool and cross out those pairs. And so after we divide, then we just want to write factored form. So we have x plus 6 as the first binomial. And then we'll have a second binomial with what's left over after we divided. So in the first term, after I crossed out x plus 6 and x plus 6, what's left is just this 2x. Okay, so when I'm typing into the second binomial, I'm going to type 2x. I'm going to use the addition symbol that I have above. Add. And then x plus 6 divided by x plus 6. Whenever you divide something by itself, what do you get? 1. You get 1. Whenever you subtract something by itself, you would get 0. Whenever you divide something by itself, then you would get 1. So there is an invisible 1 just hanging out here. And so I can finish writing my second binomial like that. Okay, so does anybody have questions, either in the class or online, about what we just did? Does that make sense? Yeah. So what I want you to do is try the other example on that page. I want you to try example 2 now. I'm going to show some responses of people that got the second, or the, well, it says example 2, but it's the one on the left, correct? Okay, so this person did a good job. They divided out 2x plus 7, and then they're left with x minus 3. GCF here is actually 2x plus 7, and so that's the first binomial, and then x minus 3. This person's showing division by 2x plus 7, crossing it out, and they have the correct factoring here. And they have the correct answer too. So I got 4 of you guys that figured it out right away.